welcome to the Sigma Show, episode 109. I'm your host, Sigma. Just before I let you know who's joining me this week, we're going to talk about what our topics shall be. First up, we got an announcement from EA that a new Black Panther single-player experience is in the works, very, very early. So all we can really do at this point is speculate, which we will do. Our second topic is something that was a little shocking, honestly. Apparently, 87% of video games created before 2010 are legally unplayable. Like, the companies who make these games just don't have any legal viable way for people to play them. And like, it really throws into the forefront kind of game preservation as an issue in this industry, which we've known for a long time. So we'll discuss that. And finally, you might have heard SAG-AFTRA, the Screen Actors Guild, for those who don't know, has voted to strike. So they will be joining the Writers Guild, which is still on strike. And a lot of your favorite movies, TV shows, cartoons, etc., are going to face problems the longer this goes on. We'll talk about like why they're striking, what the hell is going on in this industry in general. And here to discuss such things with me, Jim8, Design Delve.
It's me. I delve into designs, and I'm also called Jim8.
Right, accurate. Rexicon, Jesse.
Hi, I sometimes dabble in designing, but I definitely Rexicon.
I mean, don't we all? You know what I'm saying? And Superman, Jeff.
Yep.
Welcome back, everybody. Nice to see you here. Everybody looking all spiffy and fresh.
Why wouldn't we? It's a very auspicious event. We got to do that. Auspicious, is that the right word?
I don't know. If you ask me right now to define the word auspicious, I would not be able to help you.
All right. Well, then it's a very auspicious event. Whatever that means, we've got to look fresh.
Fine. Welcome, everybody. As we tend to do, we usually start with what we've been playing, watching, reading, listening to, etc. We do have 3 topics today and 4 guests. And 4 people, I should say, because I'm not technically a guest. It's my house. So we'll try to keep this a little short. We'll try our best. At worst case scenario, like maybe we'll have to cut some stuff off the tail end because we do have a hard out that we want to hit. But either way, anybody feeling like sharing with the class?
I mean, I could.
Oh, and Tyrell, thank you so much. Let me know that 2 of our tags are reversed. I will fix that as Jesse goes into it.
I'm the real Sigma though.
Oh my gosh.
Your dream has finally come true.
Exactly. I'm the real Sigma.
Reading. I finished reading a book called Head Like a Hole. Really, really good.
Interesting title.
Yeah, it's a horror novel. I think it came out a couple years ago, or maybe last year. So it's fairly new. Creepy, solid body horror. Good, hey, let's try to make this make sense kind of twist at the end. That I think ended up working really well.
I've heard the title before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a 9 Inch Nails song also called Head Like a Hole.
Oh, that might be it.
Yeah, so it's not like a...
Which came first?
It's... Definitely that one.
Who's copying who?
Yeah, it's not like John dies at the end, where it's like, this is a phrase that's never been used before.
Yeah.
Because I had heard it too. I was like, why does this sound familiar? Which is probably good marketing on the book's part.
Maybe it's a phrase that's used that somehow we're all not familiar with, but it might be like a phrase that's commonly used in.
Yeah, how much 9 Inch Nails do you guys listen to? Because that might dictate whether or not you'd be in the know for where that originated.
I had to be told that was a 9 Inch Nails song.
I think that
not
might be
a lot.
Yeah, King Dead knows what's up.
Is it the novelization of the 9 Inch Nails song? Yeah, so
it is not a novelization. I don't know what the 9 Inch Nails song is about, but I am 100% certain that's not what it is.
Yeah, I'm sure. I feel like 9 Inch Nails fans just know. It's like, oh, that's referring to this instance, and like the whole book is just delving deep into the psychology of like that song story and whatnot, and we just don't know. It's fine. It's okay.
Oh, solid book. If you like horror, absolutely recommend it.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
And then also, I've been watching the hottest new anime, Castlevania.
Oh.
I
mean, it is hot. New is a more controversial.
I watched like a little bit of it. It was really good, and now I needed something to watch in the living room, so I was like, all right, I'll put this on. I'm into season 2, I think, so far. What I saw was good. What I continue to watch, still fantastic. What a good show.
Yes.
I'm excited to keep watching it.
It's great.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, they're coming out with a spin-off.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you'll know of what once you finish it.
All right, cool.
To be quick about it, because I know we're not going to dwell on this too much, but like for me with the Castlevania, I'm like a huge Castlevania fan of the games.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I usually hate fan service in movies. Like I say that, but I watched the Mario movie for the first time yesterday, and I loved every second of it.
You
and all
loved
of
it. Okay.
Yeah.
But with Castlevania, there's not enough fan service. There's not enough references to the games and stuff like that. Like it's not a spoiler, but there's one point in season 2 where they use the music. Like I think they use Vampire Slayer.
Yeah.
And I was hype because I was like, I know this, yeah, and like just screaming.
But also, it was well used. Like when that happens, like it's a dope scene, and like everything that's happening is like super energetic.
Yeah, it was a huge payoff when you finally heard it. It was like, oh,
yeah, you saved it for the correct moment. But I wish there was more. But then again, I haven't seen. There's a third season, right?
Yes.
Like there's
yes, yeah.
I haven't seen the third one yet. So
I forgot there was. Is it 4? I think it is 4. Yeah.
It's 4.
Well,
okay, well,
the first season is like kind of a micro season, so
Yeah, they're all like 4 episodes or something.
Yeah, they're not very long.
They start to blend together.
Okay. But yeah,
Now I gotta look it up.
more music.
As someone who has only played Circle of the Moon, I don't understand pretty much any of the references, other than I know Alucard is the son of Dracula, and
I mean,
his
yeah, that's in the
castle
show.
moves.
Yeah, and the show tells you all that stuff. So like, yeah, you don't
and the
really
show,
need.
like,
yeah,
even the stuff I was unsure about, I was like, yeah, the Belmonts, they're a thing. It's like, yeah, we're vampire hunters. Like, okay, cool, got it. Like, it does a really good job onboarding people into this lore who have pretty much no idea what's going on.
Yeah, and some of it's quite, heavy-handed and obvious, which is good for like new viewers. Like Alucard literally just being Dracula backwards. It's kind of
very silly.
It's easy to kind of suss that one out.
Right, and then the reason for Dracula's rage is a lot more understanding as opposed to, oh yeah, he's just Dracula. That's just what he does, right?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more understanding because of kind of what they, and you can kind of understand it. Like, he's not entirely wrong. It's just he's going a little bit overboard with, his revenge.
Right. You're not wrong. You're just an asshole. It's kind of like Dracula in a nutshell.
Yeah, and yes, there are 4 seasons. Season 1 is 4 episodes. Season 2 is 8. Season 3 and 4 are 10.
I might go watch those later.
Nice.
It might have more fan service for you.
Yeah.
Does that do it for you, Jesse, or you got some games?
Pretty
to talk
much,
about?
yeah.
Okay. Anybody want to jump in next?
Sure, I'll jump in. What I've been playing recently. So I don't know if any of you have experienced this when you make content on a specific thing, but I have this kind of curse where if I make a video on a game, I can't touch that game again after I've made the episode because I spend like 2 weeks obsessing over it and dissecting it that I just get sick of it. So like Tears of the Kingdom, probably my new favorite game of all time, maybe. After I finished my video, I haven't touched it since. Guild Wars 2, one of my favorite MMOs of all time. Obsessed with it, got to speak to the devs. Video released, I haven't touched it since. But something interesting happened with my most recent video, which was on League of Legends, where I didn't need to do a whole bunch of research because I knew a lot of the stuff. So I only really played a little bit of it to get footage, and it reignited my love for the game. And I went back, started playing a different role, and now I'm like enjoying. This sounds filthy to say. I'm enjoying League of Legends again. Specifically because my entire episode is on toxicity.
Yeah,
and how
I watched that recently.
Yeah,
it's a good episode.
It was on point too with the.
Thank you.
That's one of the reasons why I stopped playing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and me too. I like, you become an asshole to strangers, but also your friends, and you don't understand why. But because I spent such a long time of trying to understand why that happens based on the design, it's made me counteract my own toxicity, and I no longer get mad at the game or other people anymore. So I'm just enjoying it, and I'm having a lot of fun.
Wow. Okay, so what you're saying is you somehow broke the cycle
Yeah,
that you explained that
weird.
the game itself creates.
Yeah, it's a strange phenomenon where when you understand how a thing works, you know how a thing works, and then it's like, I know what's going to cause the toxicity, so I'm just not going to engage with that. I'm just not going to, like I say in my videos, you like there are objectives to allow you to come back from the failure states and stuff like this, and there are ways to counteract that. But toxic people can't look past the, their
Right. Or we're
fake
down.
macro in their head.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I was like, whenever I started getting into that mindset, or someone on my team would flame me, I would just go back to what I was trying to tell other people in my video, and I'm like, listen to your own advice, you idiot. And then I've just started enjoying myself.
That's great.
And yeah, so been doing a lot of that, and then in my free time, I've recently got into Gunpla, like building Gundam kits.
Oh,
And
I've done
'cause
one of those.
my friends are into them.
they're
I've got one
fun.
here that I built recently. What? Look at this badass.
Ooh, that's
Whoa.
that's a
Look,
Gundam
wings.
wing with the wings.
Gundam Wing, yeah, but it's like a special edition that has wings.
Wait, that one was
it
in
called-
the movie, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That is nice.
It's falling apart.
Are they called Gundam Wing because they literally are Gundams with wings?
No.
No, it's like this is like oh god, this one's literally falling apart.
No.
But anyway, friends of mine are like super into them. I don't even watch the Gundam anime. I just really like fiddly, like building
Yeah,
things.
like on their own, like the designs are eye-catchy enough that
Oh,
you don't
they're
need
so
to
cool.
know the story behind them or references to them or whatever.
Yeah.
Like they're just
Yeah.
cool looking figures.
And I got into these ones, and my friends have been suggesting ones to get, and I really like ones with lots of stuff on their backs for some reason. It's like I've discovered a weird fetish. Like I like lots of back stuff, so this one had wings. I've got some others on pre-order, but I've recently, if you haven't built them before, they go up in like grades. So there's like high grade, master grade, real grade, stuff like that, and they're different levels of complexity and also detail. But this one is a real grade, so it's smaller, but they're like hyper detailed, and I won't be able to get this across on camera. But these are its legs, right?
Sure.
Mhm.
There's so much detail in these legs that when they move, they have mechanisms and like articulation in like fibers in their legs. It's crazy how they've done it. It's fascinating. But if you like building things, I'd highly recommend just getting a Gundam kit and just giving it a go, because it's great fun. You don't really need to be into the anime because they're just cool robots.
Nice.
But yeah, that's me.
Thank you for sharing. Jeff, do you want to go next or?
Yeah, I don't have
Whatever
much.
your name is.
Yeah. Playing wise, been playing a lot of Fortnite, the new season.
Well, what has changed now? Is that's still the jungle thing or something new popped up?
That's the jungle thing.
Okay,
That's
gotcha.
the jungle thing.
What's the jungle thing?
So like what they do with different
Fucking
seasons, they'll
Fortnite.
add like small like little ecosystems into the map. So one's like a little cyberpunk city, which was added last season. This one's like a jungle, like a kind of like a Raiders of the Lost Ark type jungle where there's like artifacts and little ruins you can go into. They added raptors, because why not?
Heck yeah.
There's like different types of plants that do different things. One's a bomb. One's like you can hit it and it'll explode and emit a gas that applies like a DOT to enemies. There's one that applied shields. I've actually been playing that well. For the first time I played it on PC, because for some reason on Xbox it kept crashing. I uninstalled it. I deleted the local save.
Huh.
I did all that, but it seemed like anytime there was like a large amount, and it's only with Fortnite. If there was like a large amount of frames happening at once, it would be like it would slow down, and then the game would just boot me out. So
That's
if we're doing
concerning.
like it was very concerning. Everything I looked up, with everything it told me to do, I did.
Were other people having similar issues? Like, is it like a bug like with this new season or something?
No, it's happened in the past. I've seen posts going back like a year or two ago as well.
Damn.
And it's just super weird. So I was like, you know what? And because Fortnite doesn't have something like there's another battle royale that when you get kicked out, you can, if you come back in time, I think it's Apex, it'll allow you to join back. So you can join back if you got kicked. You don't leave your, your team of 3 down a person. So it's a little frustrating. So I started playing on PC, and I'm like, okay. And normally I don't like to play shooters on PC with a controller because you're at a disadvantage because
Sure.
the compensation.
Right.
Right. So, but I was playing, it wasn't much of a difference, but like the quality of the way it looks, I was getting like 300 something frames like from playing Fortnite. I'm like, why is this even possible? So I checked the settings. You have it on like unlimited. I just capped it at 240, but it was going upwards of past like 300 frames, and it just looks so good. So I started playing on PC, and it feels pretty good. I still use the Xbox controller.
Yeah.
As you should.
Yeah, exactly.
Button
See?
boys.
Fun boys
And
represent.
I play on my monitor, and it looks and it feels great. So I think that's.
I mean,
I've been.
is this like your gateway drug now? You start buying more stuff and playing on PC? Is that what I'm hearing?
There's a couple games I would have gotten on PC, but because I subconsciously choose games on Xbox, I just haven't.
Yeah, I do. I still have that preference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm gonna play this for myself, then I'm just gonna buy it on my console.
Right. I'm like, oh, I could have bought Diablo 4 on PC because it's cross-plat, and I'm sure it would have looked great. But because my first instinct is, oh, let me get it on Xbox, So I'll give some games on a try just because if you have the power, you might as well use it. And I haven't played anything on PC at all since I built it. I think the only thing I played to test it out was High on Life. So
Yeah, that graphical powerhouse, High on Life.
High on Life. High on Life.
Takes a lot on the video card to make those fart jokes come out.
It does. Those jokes take a lot. Aside from that, that's all I've been playing.
All right. Any like TV shows and stuff you've been keeping up with her?
So the new season of Jack Ryan came out, season 4.
Oh shit! I just realized I'm 2 seasons behind on that show.
It's a good show. I was surprised. I thought they weren't getting another season. I thought it got canceled, because I thought John Krasinski was doing something else. I thought I saw something where it got canceled, but when I saw season 4, I was like, "Where's this coming from?" But this is the last season.
Okay, so this is the finale.
This is it. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think it's been so good too, and it adds, because I'm getting into cybersecurity and I've been doing all this research and all this studying and stuff. Like certain things just stick out when I watch shows like this now. So like, while it's a small part of some of the stuff they do with like hacking and stuff like that, it sticks out more because now I have a deeper knowledge of a lot of the things that they're doing. So it's like, okay, that's pretty cool. Okay. So yeah, that is how that is really how that works. Or no, that's not how that works. So it adds another layer to the show.
It's like a doctor watching Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, I had the exact same thing with watching. I was been out for a while, but Free Guy. And stuff with game design, and I was watching it, and like when they were in the game, I was like, this is cute. And then they'd get out and like talk about game design stuff, and I'd be like, that's not how it works at all. Well, I understand they need to dumb it down for people who don't make games.
Yeah,
because otherwise it would just be a terrible movie.
Like one of the most infamous movies to do that, I think, is that movie Grandma's Boy from like Happy Madison, where like like the guy's a game designer. He works for like this real weird, eclectic game design genius, and like nothing they say is like, I need you to freshen up the graphics on level 7. Is like a takeaway line from that. It's like that makes no effing sense.
What? Yeah, I hate it when shows do that, but you understand, right?
Yeah, you get it. It's like, okay. One show that I won't go off on a tangent. That from what I'm hearing, I did see it, was very much true to the concept. Wolf on Wall Street. So a lot of the scams and stuff that they were running, like I've heard it referenced a lot of times, and I listen to Darknet Diaries, which covers like a lot of scams and dealing with selling failing stocks and stuff like that, and pumping up a stock and then advertising it and then dropping it when it's at its peak, knowing that it's going to deflate, stuff like that. And they were referencing a lot of stuff from Wolf on Wall Street, so that was pretty. They're like, it's pretty much spot on with a lot of stuff that con artists and stuff were doing.
Because that is a true story, right?
Yeah,
like all that
is
happened. Yeah, the Wolf of Wall Street that's a real man.
Yep, I learned that today.
Real man, real scams.
Real man.
Definitely happened.
Wait, Leonardo DiCaprio is real?
No, right?
I was shocked too.
I thought he died on the Titanic, but no.
Yeah, right.
I thought he was still in jail from those fake checks. And then the last would be The Witcher. So I'm saving that, but I'm in like 2 episodes into the new season of The Witcher, and it was pretty good so far. I've seen some complaints that people don't like that it's so much that it's Game of Thrones-esque, but I don't feel like it is. I feel like it's its own thing and it does it well. And I'm hoping that it picks up. It seems to be going a little slow, but I'm hoping it picks up a little bit more. But I think there's only I think the second half of this season drops on the 20th, if I'm not mistaken. I think there's like 3 or 4 episodes, 4 episodes or something. So it's not a long season. So
they released it as like a split thing.
Yeah. So they did like half on June 20th and the other half will be on July 20th.
How do you feel about that? Would you have preferred, like, are you fine with this, or would you have preferred you just had?
I don't understand the reasoning. I don't know if it's usually shows do that to keep people subscribed. You know what I'm saying? So, but it's usually for like newer platforms where they see a drop when there's no original content. So they'll usually break it up into parts. They did that with like Young Justice on the DC app. They did that with in the beginning. They did that. No, actually, that's where I experienced it at. So for Netflix to do like a half and half thing, I don't know what that was, or to try to keep the hype going for longer. Like, okay, here's this,
what they were,
and here's that.
For.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know. It didn't really serve a purpose. It's just like I just didn't finish the first half because I knew the second half wasn't out.
And I think a lot of people did that, and that's kind of hurting the hype. Yeah, like no one's watching it because like it's not all out yet.
Yeah, like okay, I'll wait because there's no point to.
Yeah,
I get it, but like even though there's not that long of a wait, there's still a wait. So I don't want the story to be broken up and then like, oh well, to kind of get the full feel, I got to go back and watch the first half again and then run it through with the second half. I want to just take it through. So I'll wait for it to come because I'm a weird person. If I know something's about to end, I'll save like 1 or 2 episodes, and I have to force myself to go back to finish it. And that's because if I know once I finish those 2 episodes, it's done.
Yeah, it's finished.
So.
I'm kind of opposite in that when I know something's done, that will give me more motivation to go finish it because I can binge it all and just get the full story, and then I can take it off my list, and I like it doesn't become this lingering thing anymore. But if that finishes up, I'll go into mine because I really don't have much. All I've really been playing that I can talk about is still Street Fighter 6. I haven't played as much as I want to, but I'm still having a great time fussing around in that game. And I've been watching like a lot of people's like character guides and like video essays on Street Fighter / fighting games in general, just trying to fully understand like the mechanics behind my obsession with it, because it's a very, very similar obsession that I have with Smash and with Rocket League and just games that give you like that super short repetitive loop of gameplay and competition, right? Like
so how would you say your experience has changed week over week? Because I know you've been playing a little bit each week.
Like I can't say the experience has changed
or heightened,
but it's more so a level of comfortability that I'm getting, because like like I was aware, like in my brain, of like a lot of the mechanics and like some of the high level mechanics that exist in Street Fighter 6, but to actually do them is an entirely different story, right? So I'm slowly sort of picking up some of that stuff or at the very least knowing when some of that stuff would come in handy, and just being able to see that in the match is a better experience than not being able to see it. Like, even if I'm not beating more people than I have in the past, just knowing that this option exists, and if at some point I can get there, that I'll be successful in that role, like, that's enough. Right? So like like I'm not being defeated by the feedback loop of me losing like a bunch of matches in a row.
Right. Because
Like,
you're getting more comfortable with the
yeah,
character.
like I can still at the very least see what's happening when I lose those matches and know, oh, if I had done this or if I had done that, I could be better. What's terrible is like you get in the match and someone is rolling you and you're like, what is going on? Like I can't block anything. I can't move. Like why did that connect? Like he never stopped comboing. Like it's like stuff like that. It's like there should be openings here. Like why isn't there openings? That stuff is what's frustrating. It makes you feel like
that's
I shouldn't
that's
be
the
here.
same. That's the same thing I'm running into with like you'll be shielded and someone will be attacking. And you would think after the first 15 hits, if you'd be blocking, you would be able to maybe get an attack in. But sometimes it seems like there's a lot less frames in their attack than there is with yours.
And
so
I
like
think that is literally the case. Like there are some characters who have not proper combos, but you have the drive rush move, which allows you to throw out a couple of hits, like maybe half a combo, and then rush back in, and then be positive again on the next attack. So like there is no space for you to actually move and do anything about that. And like if you don't know that, you just feel like I should be able to do something here and I can't, so you get frustrated. But once you understand that, the mindset shifts from, all right, I need to not get hit by the first one because it's gonna be this whole long thing afterwards, and you can look out for what they want, which is to catch you in this super long thing, and that makes it easier to actually do.
Yeah.
So like it's this mental gymnastics that like even if my old man hands aren't getting me where I want to get to, at the very least like I could watch Street Fighter and enjoy it at a higher level than I have been, and like that's just fun and exciting in general. But yeah, other than that, I've been watching Kizazi Moto, which is that Disney Plus Afro-futurist animated anthology. Like it's Star Wars Visions, but it's essentially stories about Wakanda, but not actually Wakanda. If that makes sense.
I got you.
Like it's not in the Marvel universe, but it's the same premise where it's like these are African cultures that are like fast forwarded into the future, or they've never dealt with colonization. Like they have different stories because it's an anthology, so nothing's connected to each other, but they all share that similar theme. A lot of them have to do with like spirits and stuff. So like they're really cool stories about like technology and spirituality like clashing. And like the art is amazing. Like there's completely different art styles between each episode as well. Different characters, and a lot of them feel like someone is trying to get a show made. So like there's like a ton of like lore and interesting background and stuff that's introduced that you don't get to see because it's really only like a 10-minute snippet. So like here's a really cool little action thing set in this gorgeous world, tons of amazing concepts. See you next time. And like that's a little bittersweet because like, oh, this is so dope. I wish there was more of it, and there's just not. Because I don't know how much like press or hype this show is getting, because like I think it's phenomenal. Like it's amazing that they paid money to get this made, but like I don't know if they're gonna do it again because I hear nobody talking about it.
What was it?
An anthem.
Kizazi Moto.
It's on Disney Plus.
I'm gonna type it into the chat for anyone who maybe wants to look it up. Yeah, it's on Disney Plus.
It's an anthology. Is each episode done by the same?
No, it's like different studios.
Okay.
So I would hope at least one or two get picked up to do more work with them for like a full thing. Like even if it's not a continuation of that story, just give these animation houses like stuff to do, like because they are good. And like I'm learning about animation houses that I just would not have otherwise. And like it's an invaluable show in that way.
At the very least, hopefully the right people saw it. Like the people who are in charge of hiring these companies to do animation on shows, they'll be on the lookout for this sort of stuff. That's a shit. I literally hadn't heard anything about it. And
yeah, I remember there was one trailer for it before it released, and I don't remember where I saw that. Like maybe Twitter, but since then, I only remembered it because it popped up on like the Disney Plus banner.
The little dashboard. Yeah.
So I was like, oh yeah, this. I wanted to watch this, and then I started it then and there. But like otherwise, I probably would have forgot even after I saw the
Yeah.
trailer and got into it. So I don't.
There was really no advertising of it at all. Really, usually you see like there's something new coming to Disney Plus. You see it like everywhere. There was not much advertising for it at all. I only saw it because of it being on the banner.
Right.
I happened to I was gonna go watch Secret Invasion, and that was and I was like, oh, let me check that out. And I watched the first episode, but
Yeah. So I mean, that's pretty much it for me. If there's nothing else, let's move on to our first topic, which is on brand. Black Panther announced from EA a brand new studio called Cliffhanger, but it does have some devs who used to work at Monolith, which means they have experience with the Shadow of War / Mordor games. I said that backwards. Shadow of Mordor came first, and then Shadow of War. But essentially, single player, open world Black Panther action adventure game. Does this excite anyone? Does this worry anyone? Like,
I literally thought, I was like, why is he talking about this? We already know the Amy Hennig Black Panther game that's coming out. Why is this getting announced again? That is a completely different,
this is a completely different
Black Panther
yes.
game. Yeah,
And that Amy Hennig game is technically Black
Captain
Panther and
America.
Captain America.
Captain
Like,
America,
they're
yeah.
sharing the headline banner. And I think it takes place like during World War II, so it's like it's set in the past. So it's like it's not like T'Challa Black Panther. It's probably like T'Chaka or his grandfather or something like that.
right.
As Black Panther. So like interesting story. Can't wait to see what that is. But this is headlining solo Black Panther superhero game.
I'm excited. I think it could be good, but my only worry is that it's EA, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so like with most EA, if we look at the laziness in mechanical expression in these games or like exploration, I also worry that the cultural representation will be lazy, and that it will be them just trying to use a brand rather than like what the Black Panther movies are, which is an expression of, you know, African culture in a, like you said, in a futuristic way. I worry that just like it could be mechanically lazy, it could be the cultural representation could also be lazy. And at that point, my question is, if they were to be lazy with it, what's the point? Like, let's get more movies. Let's let's explore a different a kind of world. But fingers crossed, hopefully it explores the culture in an interesting way, rather than just being a tower climbing third person thing that just so happens to take place in Wakanda.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see something actually unique and different from it.
I will say, like immediately after the announcement, I saw some tweets from a game dev who basically revealed like, now I can talk about how I'm the lead environmental designer for this game, and that was a black lead game designer.
Oh,
So like, that's encouraging, but also
Hell yeah.
like when they announce a game this early, because like this game does not exist yet, but
Right.
when they announce a game this early, is usually so that they can draw talent to them. And I saw a lot of cries from press people saying like, I hope you guys are looking for like black creatives to lead this project.
100%.
And like I feel like they can't get away with not doing that. Like I feel like that'll be like the front of mind of anyone if they like, oh, this is who's leading up this game series, and like there's just no involvement from people with ties to the culture.
right.
Yeah.
Can I be super cynical for a moment?
Go right ahead.
I think they'll use that to their advantage.
Right. This is a good way to promote the game.
Yeah, they have a win-win scenario for themselves. If they don't do it, or if they start leaking information, it's like, oh, hey, this many people that are working on it that we hired, and they have like, if it starts to get like bad press, they can just cancel it and be like, well, we tried, you know what, whatever, we just can't please people, what are we gonna do? And like that, they can use that as a scapegoat to abandon something.
Yeah, this type of thing happens all the time. It's not just in the games industry. Well, you'd be surprised at how many people can be put in charge, front facing, but they are in no way put in charge. The most high profile representation of this is the movie Red Tails. So,
Mm.
if anyone hasn't seen Red Tails, it was a movie that had an all-black cast, which George Lucas claimed was the first movie with an all-black cast, which is completely wrong. Blaxploitation movies have been made for such a long time. But he specifically requested or was told to hire a black director, but then basically just told him what to do at every single point, so he didn't get to direct. And that movie was just, had a lot of kind of bad black stereotypes, and it was kind of problematic. But they wanted it to be front-facingly made by a black team, and that's what I worry about here. They will hire people of color to make the game, but behind the scenes, it's just a load of cynical producers who are just trying to pump something out because it's got the Black Panther name. That's the thing I'm cynical of, and I'm hoping doesn't happen. I hope we actually get a black-led, awesome representation of Wakanda with some unique mechanics. That would be fantastic to play.
Yeah, but that's gonna be really hard because the company that's making it, EA, is still the EA. Like, it's everybody that's at the top is still there, and
I want to cut you off there a little bit because that's not entirely true. They just moved Vince Zampella to basically the head of EA Games, and they split EA into two companies very recently. Like, there's like EA Sports stuff, and then there's like EA Games stuff. And Vince Zampella is kind of the guy in charge of that. Vince Zampella, who famously created Respawn. Apex is a big deal for them. He led the Respawn as well. Led the Jedi Fallen Order and now Jedi Survivor games, which are being received well, even though I personally don't think they're that great. But they're being received well. EA just released Wild Hearts, which is a very competent Monster Hunter clone. They're kind of in this groove where like they're letting go of like the live service and the super heavy microtransaction thing and starting to get back to the basics of like, let's just make a good video game, or at least let's partner with people and give them money to make a good video game. And this is a brand new studio, so there's no like legacy whatnot. So like under Vince Zampella, I feel like he could let these people at Cliffhanger make the game they want to make and like shield them from like maybe some of this corporate overreach that EA has had in the past, because like they trust him to kind of release games that people like and play. I mean, this is speculation, but like I do feel like there's a little bit of new blood / energy in those high tiers of EA that could maybe be encouraging for this.
Yeah, it can do one of two things. New blood is either good to get shit done, or they're very easily pushed around because they're new. Yep. So like there's definitely two ways it could go. I have one preferred outcome. Like I would really like it to be good.
Sure.
I never want bad games, regardless of its subject matter. But especially because like we don't get games like this often. Like we always have the same protagonists, we always have the same stories, we always have, Far Cry clones that are just trying to do the same thing. I hope the game can take its unique setting and do something unique gameplay wise as well. And be, like a brand new IP game wise that they can use to start a franchise and start a new like wave of games being made out of it. It'd be really good.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I would take a carbon copy of like a Batman Arkham game starring Black Panther. Like at this point, I'd be like, that's fine. But like, yeah, if they throw something new in there, even better.
One of the things I saw that they wrote about was that, and we mentioned this before. Now, did they make the Nemesis system as a they created it, but Rockstar, WB owns it because it worked for servers, right?
I think
WB didn't create that, right?
I don't think you could copyright like a game mechanic though. I mean, maybe the code specifically, but like you can't have, you can't be like first person shooter, you shoot in first person. That's ours now. You can't have it.
It's a very tricky area, but it is possible. to do it, and WB do have a patent on the Nemesis system, which is the specific AI flow chart that they have a copyright on. So you can't do the AI in that exact way. There are other ways around it, just other companies haven't been attempting to do it because it's a hard thing to do. It's a very difficult system to make. And they did it in the most efficient way, and that's why they copyrighted it or got a patent on it.
I did see that they said that the world was going to be reactive, which tells me that the things that the player does or things that happen, the world is going to reflect that. Whether that's the environment, whether that's different character interactions, that to me is a good sign. As far as who is in charge of it, it should be once again a person of color. And I believe that person should do the research. Just being a person of color in charge of it doesn't
doesn't automatically make you qualified, right?
What I hate is when there's Halo, or there was something else. Halo, they were told not to. They just pretty much ignored all the source material. Like they paid no
TV show.
Yeah, they paid no attention to the source material. They wanted to do their own thing. And I feel like there has to be a good blend. There has to be a good blend of where this came from, what its fan base is built off of, what they know from the series, and also what you interject into it. When you just completely ignore the source material, I feel like that's when it fell. It's more likely to fail than it is to succeed, because now everything rests on a new concept. Everything they knew about and what they liked for years no longer really exists, right? And maybe visually it might, but the core of it no longer exists because we ignored that. Now we created something different. I hope they do their research. Now, it doesn't need to follow the comics or any storylines in particular exactly, but I feel like it needs to embody the what Wakanda is, and whether that's in the comics or the movies.
Like if they tell their own story, it would need to be a story that could conceivably have been in the comics, or like it would like fit, I guess, what's come before in a way.
Right, because what we see with Spider-Man from Insomniac, they tell some of the same stories that happened in the comics or in the movies or whatever, but they retell it in a different way, and the mechanics of the game are fun. So I'm hoping that they stay true to what Wakanda is from the comics. Maybe they have some people from the comics, maybe consult.
Nice.
I doubt I doubt they can get many from the movie. That'll be like probably a little bit more pricey to get anyone, Brian Coogler or somebody to come in and kind of consult on the game. But I feel like they definitely need to do the research on not just the Wakanda as a place, but also how the people are, how the characters are, and also, is it going to be isolated? Is it just Wakanda, or are they going to? I hope it's not with like the Avengers, where there's you have the Hulk in such a small sandbox, right? Where the part of this superhero fantasy when you're playing as these characters is, as the Hulk, I want to be able to jump on buildings. I want to be able to destroy buildings. I want to be able to do this. When you put someone like that in like a small sandbox, and you kind of take that away, it's not. I think that was one of the biggest issues that the Avengers. Obviously, microtransactions. Please, for the love of God, no microtransactions. Whether it's cosmetic or not, I feel like just the existence of them in the game is going to hurt.
I can see that. Yeah.
It's what worries me about the fact that you said it was set at World War II.
No, that's the Amy Hennig game.
Oh, that was the Amy Hennig game, was it?
Yeah.
Do we?
Well,
have
I'm
a
glad this
setting
one isn't.
for this one?
No, they don't.
We don't know that much. We just know it's set in Wakanda. It's Black Panther single player action adventure.
Could be World War II, but
I mean,
could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, the part of World War II that took place in Wakanda. Yeah.
Yeah.
God.
We also don't know which Black Panther is going to be either.
Yeah, it could be a new one, which I would hate. That would be a bad idea.
I would think they would either go with T'Challa or Shuri because of recent events in the movies. So there's a possibility they can go that way.
Yeah, they could do Suri.
But
I mean, like,
if
that's
I'm
a
big,
comic thing.
yeah, if I'm thinking they'll go with T'Challa just because he's probably the most popular one.
Yeah, I can see that. I would be very surprised if they went with anyone other than T'Challa.
Right.
Yeah.
But is that all we want to say about a Black Panther? I mean, like, generally speaking, are people excited, or if there's just more skepticism than there is excitement for this?
I'm excited. The people, Shadow War and Shadow Mordor, I think were pretty good.
Yeah, I really like
were
those
really
games
good.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the biggest things though was the business system, but the overall combat, the traversal, that type of stuff was fun. I am hoping it's not as shallow as Shadow War. You know what I'm saying? I know it's a ways back, but it was similar to like with Crackdown, where you see all these buildings and stuff, right? But you can't really go in there. Like Shadow War there was a lot of like castles and stuff that were just hollow. You know, there wasn't much to them.
Like
so
and gotcha.
Right. So I'm hoping this is more in depth to where there's, Wakanda's supposed to be, super advanced. So
yeah, you want to go sit down in a restaurant.
There you go. Have a little
order some susu.
Yeah, I at any game at this stage in development, I'm like, I hope it's good. I'm glad people are working on it. I have no hyper expectation because like there's nothing to show. There are ideas, and those are worth the paper they're written on. Like, I hope those ideas come through. I hope it's everything they promise. I hope it's everything they want to build, because that's great. But who knows if that's where we wind up. There's all sorts of stories of game design, and that aren't necessarily bad stories, that things don't wind up the way they were initially supposed to go.
Right. Because a lot of times I feel like it's hard to tell whether something was wrong from the start, or there was all these mandates that came down where these things had to go in, these things had to happen.
No one was able to get what they wanted actually done for one reason or another. Yeah.
Right. And this could be a game we don't see for 3 or 4 years. Like,
let's say
maybe
like 5
longer.
or 6. Yeah.
This
supposed to be a AAA game.
Yeah.
So in 5 years we'll get a cinematic trailer.
They haven't started on it at all, right? It was just.
I don't think so. Yeah. At best, I would think there's like some concept art drawn up.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, concept art, initial designs. For me, to simply put it, I'm not skeptical of the idea or the setting. I'm skeptical of the company. That's
sure.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, if this comes out and works, will that start to ease your skepticism of EA? Because like I personally, I feel like they've been making some headway back, but like Jesse's still shaking his head. Like, you're still very skeptical. I'm wondering how many proper releases is going to take for EA to kind of reform their identity.
Their most popular release that probably had the most money into it was Jedi Fallen, whatever the recent one was
Survivor.
Yeah.
And in all ways, that game was unfinished. So I have no faith in anything EA are trying to pump out, because that should be the peak of what they're releasing. And I should really make a video on this. That game is unfinished. It's not finished in every aspect. And
it was a good game, but I had tons of crashes and stuff in the beginning. Textures were wonky in a lot of parts. It was fun, and with patches, it got there, but getting there isn't the same as being finished.
Yeah, somebody said it in stream. I think I am the number 1 Jedi Survivor hater, because like every single aspect, narrative, mechanics, level design, sound, there are so many aspects of it that just have not been cooked. They're not finished. They're doughy, and that game should have had another at least year in development. And I'm sure a lot of the devs on there thought the same, but they were told no.
Yeah, like we need this out for this quarter.
Yeah.
And if that's how they're treating Star Wars, I don't have a lot of faith for an IP that hasn't had any games made.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Which is a shame.
And Also, it's peaks and valleys. Like they'll do good things. So a number of good decisions will come through. A number of bad decisions will come through. And like if you look back at EA, they've had times before where they've done like, hey, we produced two really good games, or like several really good games where we made several really good decisions, and then you'll see where they start making bad decisions or decisions that are not consumer friendly or that you just personally don't like. Like it's going to do this. So yeah, they could do a couple of great things, and that's good. But that doesn't stop them from making bad decisions when they switch CEOs, when something else changes, when someone just goes, but money. Like there's so many reasons, and that it's not going to stay good forever.
Fair enough.
Wraithbow had a good point. Why do you think they announced this now with nothing to show for it?
Because they need people to come work on it.
Oh, so that's why to grab their talent to come. Because I see there's a couple people working on it who worked on God of War. There were what was the other one? Someone else. A couple other people they pulled from other studios that left other studios, and they kind of were able to draw that talent in. So that was kind of like a call to arms from to get people to come
it's
in.
like, hey, we're planning this. Come help us, because they have the idea, they have enough of the core formed out that they need to start building. So like they need to hire people to do the building, I guess.
I think also to help build hype and to like get it involved, because AAA game again. 5 years we might get a trailer for this. What is the Marvel and Black Panther IP relevancy going to be in 5 years?
In 5 years, yeah.
Right. So you need people now when it's a hot thing being looking forward to it and to try and keep it up versus announcing it in 5 years, people being like, that old movie? Like I haven't seen a Marvel movie since 2022. Who cares?
Right, yeah. Good point as well. Okay, we'll move on from Black Panther. And we'll try to spend a little bit of time, I guess, on the games preservation thing, though this is a very big deal. Apparently, I'm blanking on what their proper name is, but like the games preservation, the Video Game History Foundation did a study where they essentially found out that pretty much 87% of games created or released, I guess, before the year 2010 cannot be found and played legally. Like, I want to say around 2010, that was kind of the cusp of like the digital era beginning. So to me, it seems like a lot of companies jumped on the digital train, and that made it so that you couldn't find physical copies. But on top of that, even if you can find physical copies of a lot of these games, you need the physical hardware in functioning order in order to like play them. So like there's not, for stuff before digital era, this is especially difficult. It's hard to legally play some of these games without emulation, which we know is kind of a gray area. But this might be a bit of a controversial take, especially coming from me, who loves video games up and down. I kind of am not super worried about playing old games in that way. Like, I do think companies should hold on to their source material, but I don't think that necessitates that stuff being available for me as a consumer to purchase like years and years and years after, like for them to maintain like super old MMO servers or whatnot years and years and years after no one is playing it anymore. So I feel
it takes money to run those servers.
Yeah, so
it costs money. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, I see why we can't play everything past a certain era. It should be preserved in a way, sure, but like being able to just go out and buy it, I'm not that salty about that. But I'm curious, how do you guys feel? Like, what's your take on like
Totally
preservation in? You said the totally opposite.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
The MMO thing I can understand, but that is an absolutely like minuscule part of game preservation. Is the MMO and always online market, which that one I'll lean a little closer to you on, to be like, look, you cannot. Nothing is permanent. Like we cannot have something literally last forever. Probably Shakespeare will eventually be forgotten. If not when the sun blows everything up, before that at some point. Like things just don't last forever here. It's understandable. That's not an excuse to let things die, but it's just an understanding we have to have. So like with something as infrastructure heavy and with so many things that have to get a MMO to work, okay, I can understand. You still have the availability of the source code if you want to do something with it. But that is, again, a very small subset of it, where the overwhelming majority of video games are closer to something like a movie or a book, where it is something there you can have the whole experience contained within a file.
Mm-hmm.
And that should absolutely, we should strive to be able to preserve those and like that continue access, because
well, I mean, I agree with the preserve part, like keep an archive of its existence, but like
but what good is preservation without access? Like, what good is it to have, movies that the studios have, but you could only ever see them in theaters when they release them? What usefulness is that to you? As somebody who's like, I want to watch a movie again.
In that regard, preservation to me is like, let's say someone who's studying, the history of video games, right? Maybe there's a museum or an archive that has this stuff stored, so they can go and study, and especially for like some of the most relevant games. Like years from now, people will be studying Fortnite and how it took over the market and battle royales and how all the collaborations and how it essentially is the metaverse in some regards. Availability to me, I feel like it works in two ways. So availability, an older game that was popular, we will see again. If it was popular then, it will come back. That's why we see all the remakes and the digital remasters for the most part. And most likely we'll see it for the most part.
Right. There's definite outliers.
Right. So a lot of times that is, point and parcel with business strategy. We're not going to have that anymore, but guess what? In some years from now, we can bring that back. We can do a remaster on it. Kings of Amalur was one of them, which was pretty old. We saw a remaster on it. They brought it back. We might see that again, and that's what renewed interest in an old IP, more money for business, or it just wasn't that popular then, and they just like, you know what, we're gonna leave it,
faded into obscurity,
right? With the MMOs and stuff, like what was it, City of Heroes, which is on the picture, that should be preserved because that was one of the first more popular MMOs back then. That was, especially for superheroes, that was, if you see DC Universe today, that's essentially where a lot of that was pulled from, was City of Heroes. So being able to preserve that, availability unfortunately won't be there. But I can see what Jesse is saying. Let's say you have, your son or daughter, and you want to introduce him to something that maybe you played as a kid, and you might not have that hardware anymore, but now you don't have access. And then that's when that creates room for creative means to acquire access to that. And we talked about this with anime. If you put something in a localized, a central location where it can be accessed and maybe charge a subscription, then people will pay for it. Nobody wants to go and,
like the ease of the access to the material. Like if you make it available, people will pay and they'll use it legally. But then like when it gets difficult, it gets impossible, then they find ways around it.
Other means, that's what we see with Nintendo introducing all these Nintendo games and Super Nintendo games on the Switch. There are a lot of older ones that, unless you have a Super Nintendo or an emulator or Nintendo, you can't play those games anymore. But now, guess what? You can pull them up on a Switch. So hopefully, and they charge a monthly fee, right? So if companies find it, financially beneficial, maybe they'll put these things on their sensors, like, an Xbox 360 collection on the Xbox, or an Xbox collection on the Xbox Series X, or a PS1 collection of all these games that you can't get anywhere else in this collection. So hopefully they kind of realize some of that. That's all I got.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I think the issues are legality and money, but both of these issues are for the corporations. They're not for consumers. So with some exceptions, like some PS2 games and PS3 because they're incredibly difficult to emulate. Any game that has ever been released, including ones that were released yesterday, with no money and enough time, you can go play. You can emulate them. There are ways to get those games if you really want to do it. Even games that are seemingly lost to time and they're only physical copies, people have digitized them and you can play them on emulators. There are ways of doing this. The only issue with that is, the game companies and corporations, and rightly so, do not like this because it's losing them money. The older a game gets, just to give my 2 cents on pirating games, I never pirate games, but it's because I make games
a good boy
for a living.
Yeah.
So I support the act of pirating game. But it's also been said, that people who are going to pirate the games are not going to buy your game anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But the older a game gets, the less judgmental I am at people pirating it, because it is so expensive and so specialized that people can charge out the ass for a GameCube game. They can charge hundreds and hundreds of dollars for you to play it. Or, sorry, Nintendo can continue to charge hundreds of dollars to play it because they never lower the price of their games and make them accessible. I get less peeved at people pirating those games because you should still be able to enjoy them. And if you want to, and I think there should be a cutoff, just like we have IP cutoffs and stuff like that after 100 years.
And then it becomes public domain, etc.
I think we should have that for games. There should be, obviously, the games industry isn't old enough for that, so we haven't included it yet. But I think after a certain period where the companies seemingly can't make money off of it because of the infrastructure, or it takes too much time, those games should just be free and available. They should be public domain.
That's what I was thinking. Yep.
Then it would slow down this, pirating kind of market. I don't really want to call it a market because nobody pays anything. And I think that would be more beneficial to the games industry and just gamers as a whole. There are so many games that I'm sure we've all played that were such a huge part of our childhoods, or huge parts on, and it sounds sad to say, but shaping us as people. And
entirely.
Your children and my children and the people of the future will most likely never be able to play those things again unless they become pirates, right? And it's so hard to get into emulating games. It's a complicated endeavor because it hasn't been streamlined because it's illegal.
Right.
So if there was this it's not, imagine another site kind of similar to Nintendo's, come play our games and pay us a monthly fee. It's just, there is oldgamearchive.com is the Smithsonian of games. And any game that is older than 30 years old that can't make money anymore is just there for free and you can play it. This would be so much great for people with monetary issues and in different situations. I can't see, apart from the corporations losing a couple pound, I can't see a downside to it.
Yeah, Tariel was bringing up a similar point, saying the companies aren't losing money when these pirates attack these particular sorts of games because they weren't selling them, they weren't making any money.
Yeah, for example, Silent Hill, Parasite Eve, and Eternal Darkness, 3 fantastic games you cannot get on anything modern, that you have to either emulate or have the original hard copies of the disc games and all the legacy hardware. And all the companies involved make zero money off of that.
Yeah, because you're just lying dormant.
Right, because you're buying hardware that they don't make money off of. You're buying second market hardware. You're buying second market games themselves. You're buying completely third party, you either need a old TV or an HDMI adapter or something like that. It's absurd that this is not, just preservation we should be trying. Doesn't matter what the money is. This is art. This is important. We should be trying
for
to
that
preserve
reason, preserve it 100%.
Yeah.
And that could be a business model for something like GameStop, who in modern gaming has kind of become irrelevant as with the digital age, where you don't have to go to GameStop for software. You can just download it directly.
So
And because a lot of big box retailers are now selling controllers, you don't have to go to GameStop for a controller. You don't have to go to GameStop for this. Their niches or what's unique about them is being able to trade stuff in and use that to purchase other stuff. If they had something where this was the only place, and they would have to purchase probably, it couldn't. I don't see it being paying a large fee, but this is the only place you could purchase or rent a digital copy of these older games. That would give them more, more of
relevance,
more of a relevance in today, because they're not going to succeed with. I don't need to go there to buy, the new Black Panther when that comes out. I can just download that digitally.
I'm curious why. I'm just curious why you would pull GameStop for this, because
GameFly, another place.
Well, no, because in my mind, it's like those companies have a business model. You're telling them to just be other companies at this point.
If I'm being honest, their business model isn't working, right?
No, yeah, sure.
Yeah, so they need that's why they started moving to a lot of the merchandise and the collectibles, because they know that they need something to supplement them not selling that many. Remember before, where only place you could get a game was like a game store, like GameStop, or like a mom and pop place where you could pre-order it. You would go there, they would be out of copies or something. Oh, we get another delivery next week, right? So we only see that when there's new consoles coming out, right? We don't see that with software so much anymore. So that would kind of be a good entry point for them, because nobody else is doing that. Nobody else, I don't think is thinking about older games besides, in articles like this and in conversations like this.
There's probably a reason for that, and I think a bunch of people in chat are hitting on it. And essentially, like King's Dead is saying, archiving should not be done for profit, by a for-profit company, because this
no.
There's a cultural reason
archiving
for history.
Not archiving it.
Profitable.
No, what I mean by when I'm preserving it would be like in the museum. We see that with like E.T. that's in the museum. There's a couple other games in there. Something similar to like Ready Player One. Like they had that whole museum. Like something like that would be pretty cool, right? What I mean by when we're talking about putting something in a centralized location and having it accessible for a fee, that could be something. Or, not really an archive, but like, if you really want some really older games and you don't know where to get them, guess what? We have them at GameStop. Not preserving it. Preserving is different. Availability to
like purchase.
Right. Would be an entry point for people who want to play some of those older games.
Well, I mean, because what you're saying would solve the problem that's being brought up by this article, right? Like saying like, hey, make this stuff that isn't available anywhere else available. Right. For people to go buy. The problem is like there's like a
these exist.
Yeah, it's like a ruins of old publishers and companies where these rights exist, and like minefields of like copyrights and whatnot for the publishers and stuff. So like I think that's the main reason why this is actually so difficult. So like even if it was GameStop that at least has some market notoriety, I guess we'll call it.
Right.
For them to be like, all right, all of this stuff that's going on out here, we're going to consolidate it and turn it into this archive of a digital marketplace, like some folks in the chat are mentioning.
And obviously they would have to do all the background work for figuring out who owns what and paying this.
Yeah,
all that stuff.
I don't think it's a thing that can be done. Like I don't think it's a thing that can be done, is what I'm saying. Like,
because of how obscure some of them are, and some of them don't exist.
I think a lot of it is just straight up impossible.
Well, I think it's straight up impossible to profit off of it without, selling things for ridiculous prices and stuff like that. I think Blame Your Fate said something really interesting, which is talking about the copyright stuff again, which is for literature, it's 95 years. That would mean that so many generations ahead, it'll be forgotten. It's interesting to compare games to literature here, and the copyright being 95 years, because you don't need a PS5 to read a book.
Not yet.
But this is why it's 95 years. Books can be reprinted and redistributed with very there's no hardware or prerequisite you need to be able to digest that. But for games, once a games console stops being made, or they stop printing the discs if it wasn't digital, there, like you were saying before, Casey, there is no way you're going to be able to play that game apart from doing it illegally.
Yeah.
Which is why that's my petition towards the copyright on games should be way less than 95 years. It should be
that
like
makes
the
sense.
length of that
Right.
console's lifespan.
And it
Or
could
if
be
there's a
something
plan to
similar
remake
to like toy licenses. So normally a toy license would be if X amount of toys hasn't been made in this year, or X amount of dollars hasn't been paid to whoever owns that, then the rights kind of reflect back to the creator. This would be something similar to where if that IP hasn't been used in X amount of years, then it kind of reflects to like you said, public domain.
Yeah.
That would be something that would be
this
a little bit
game now
easier to
belongs
judge,
the-
yeah, than like, oh, because the books is what is it, like 60, 70 years or something like that? Or like
90,
No, yeah, 95, Jay said,
No,
for literature.
Ooh. So yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah,
Hold on.
it's
They're bringing up a very interesting point in the chat, and I know we're low on time, so I'm gonna say it now. We're probably gonna cut the Screen Actors Guild conversation, but this is an ongoing thing. It'll come up in conversation in the future, so don't worry about that. But I just want to point out they're saying like, what about music, Jay? Like, depending on how old that is, you still need certain hardware to listen to it, and like I feel like yes, but also no.
Right.
No,
I feel like
it's
music is more
very
readily available, the older stuff, than it is
It
with
should be.
consoles.
Like you
yeah.
could sing a song out of your mouth and get the same and get the same experience depending on who's singing it, almost, right? Like
Yeah,
I feel like that's a
like-
very different thing.
It's very easy to replicate and make music digestible on another piece of hardware, to go from vinyl to Betamax disc, or to CD to MP3. Like, we've taken that, and it's very easy to transition to that. Games are infinitely complicated to port, even from consoles directly to PC, which are in the same generation. It is very difficult. So that's why it should be a different kind of field for us to look into, in a different time frame with games, in my opinion. That is
Because if you hop on your iPhone and you go to the music store, you think of an old song, you can probably find it on there. They do a very good job at having all that in a centralized location for you to search for it. You pay your fee a month, and you're able to find it there. So if you want an old song, you can find it there.
And that's
Preservation.
That particular thing is attributed to, weirdly enough, the companies who own it. Right. Like the music labels and like the movie studios, production.
So
houses,
there is a model for it.
Yeah.
Right.
Games just don't do that, and that's part of the problem, because it doesn't make them money to do that like it does movie studios and music labels.
Right. Because I don't feel like preservation and availability can exist together. I feel like preservation has to be its own thing. Like I said, for history and whether that code was unique or something about it, or we're preserving, this is the last game that used the Frostbite engine or something like that. And those games be preserved in a separate location, like I say, an archive or a museum or something like that. Availability for people who want to play that, I feel like, is separate, and there could be a model for it, or like you said with music. But once again, like, you might not know once this company dissolved, who the rights default to, like who owns this now, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of legality into it, which they would have to figure out. But you can't have both together, like you said, because if you go to a museum, you can probably play that game if it's there, but you can't readily take it home. You know what I'm saying? So.
Oh man, not even necessarily. When I was doing a game preservation event, and they were talking about like the library, people from the Library of Congress there that were talking about how they do game preservation. And yeah, a lot of it you still can't even access. Like, they're like,
Oh, wow.
we will get physical things that we need to transfer to a hard drive. Like, we'll have a disk of an old game, we'll transfer to a hard drive, but it does not mean that the raw data is something they can just hand to you and be like, now play it. That's just storage.
Yeah.
To get it in a playable state or in a distributed state is a completely different task, and they're already very underfunded, doing a lot with volunteer materials, volunteer time, volunteer hardware.
That's why it's always going to be pirated. We're
Yeah,
never going to be able to get around this.
That's kind of the solution to the problem, right? Is just pirate it.
Steal it.
Because
So
it kind of doesn't
Yeah.
matter. 87% of games can't be obtained legally. Okay, I'll pirate them, like, because they're there.
Right. So maybe they should look at that the the potential legal repercussions for that and maybe readdress it, because we see this when there's not availability. Let's say poverty is mass, right? You see an uptick in crime, right? People, it's funds are not readily available, food's not available. So what are people going to do? They're going to find a way to get those things, right?
They're
So
gonna become pirates. Yeah, they're gonna.
right. So the circumstances
raid
a
the
lot of
grocery
times,
store.
right? They're looking for the One Piece. But like
Emulate the bread.
a lot of times you have to look at the circumstances or the crime. Not did they pirate this for profit, right? That's one of the things. Was this used? Did they potentially steal this game and pirate it for profit to resell or redistribute it, or did they download it because it wasn't available anywhere else, and that was their means to get it? Right. Same thing with a book. If education isn't readily available and it's illegal to download it or from somewhere else, right?
You mean
Maybe
like
that's not
textbooks?
that. Yeah, textbooks.
Like
Like we talk about
$300
North
college
Korea, right?
books?
North Korea, certain education is illegal, right?
Well, yeah. Well, that's just
Yeah, so-
tyrannical propaganda. That's a whole a whole other thing.
But maybe they should look at those laws and some of the penalties for breaching this, because once again, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, like if piracy is the only way to do this, then maybe it shouldn't be illegal. I think it's kind of the
I think a
kind of the
combination of what
argument
JM8 said is a good thing. Like if this IP, like when's the last time we're in court? Judge is like, well, when's the last time you guys have, made this game available for people to purchase? Oh, it's been
Ooh,
it's
all
been
right.
it's been some years.
Okay, but if we do it that way, that's how movie rights are often handled, and that's why we have 11 Hellraiser movies, and like 6 of them are just absolute garbage because that's literally it.
Yeah,
It's
that's
if
it. Yeah,
you
we
do
do a new
not
thing, so we hold
use
on to the
this-
right. Yeah.
Right, so they spend like $10 to make a new Hellraiser movie, so they get to keep the copyright. So like that
I got you.
that will
Fantastic
produce-
Four is the
Right,
one
just
there, yeah.
Yeah.
so that way the rights don't revert. Okay, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so in that case, I guess pirating would still be the better option. Because if you don't,
And then you could
let 'em
pirate
know.
those garbage games.
What if you call it privateering?
I just have a
I mean,
just have a rule.
same thing, right?
In my head, the rule is if pirating a thing would not negatively impact someone else's life, then it's fine. Like
That
if you
could
pirate
be the same
new
for
Jedi
all crime,
Survivor
Jay.
game, you are not. Yeah, for sure, right? But like for the new Jedi game, right? If you pirate that, you
Right.
are effectively taking money away from the designers and the environment artists and all of this, and you're actively hurting their lives. Like getting games on G2A with stolen keys, you are actively hurting the devs. But if a game hasn't profited in the last 10 years because you can't get it anywhere, and you just want to experience the memory of it again, pirate it, go for it.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question. So,
Okay, we'll make this like our final question before we wrap up.
we've seen this in the FTC trial with a lot of the lawyers for the FTC, where they really didn't understand the games industry and how a lot of things work. And I'm not sure how law works. So you go to school for law. Should there be a section on like video game law and how? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, because as far as I know, there isn't. Like there's corporate law, there's like copyright law, there's things like that, which I think video game industries take advantage of because like they make a product, they make an artistic thing as well, but they're also corporations, so like they touch in all these different places. But yeah, I don't think there's too many laws that are specific to like video games and how that industry operates, to my knowege. And
there's so much
uh-huh.
gray area, and like we've noticed in the
you're
trial,
right.
where they're treating it like as if it's something else. You know what I'm saying? Where it's not.
No, I think that actually makes a lot of sense, and that's partly what Jay was talking about too. Is like, hey, if we're gonna do a public domain type thing for video games, based on how video games function, it should be a lot shorter than literature or whatever. Like, yeah, like that sort of stuff has never existed before because video games are relatively new in terms of the medium. But like, yeah, like maybe there should be some overarching laws put in place, but I'm like, who proposes that? Like Congress?
Yeah,
like,
and everyone in Congress is 90 years old.
right? Yeah,
Right.
is
And
Nancy
that's what I'm saying.
Is Nancy Pelosi gonna put a bill to the floor about fucking
Emulation, game emulation bill coming in from your 95
like, yeah,
year
so
old
we probably we got a ways probably like that sort of stuff makes sense, but like, yeah, I think games are still in its infancy. We need just a lot more young people in governments across the world to actually start to care about that sort of thing. So, but I do think it'll come eventually if the world is still here.
Sure.
But nice, yeah. Like Abby says, AOC would, Casey, yeah, and she's one of us. She's a millennial. So with that being said, that's going to take our show to its conclusion. Thanks everybody in chat so much. Jay, where can folks find you? What do you have to promote? And go.
Escapist, check me out there. I'm on a bunch of streams. Going to be on some with Amy soon. Recent video came out on League of Legends, on Design Delve, on Toxicity. Check it out. I'm gonna have more on League probably because that video did really well. So I'm look forward to that.
Nice.
Yeah, that's
Jesse, what do you have coming up? Where can folks find you?
Support the writer's strike, I'll say, because we didn't get on topic, but yes,
but
it's very
that's the
important.
overarching point for that. Yes.
Yeah.
Writer strike and actor strike.
My channel, Rexcon Jesse over on Twitch, Jesse Gallegno over on YouTube. Check that out. I've got lots of streams on Escapist, like Hidden Gems with Casey. Also, Get Jesse the Beast with Casey. And the Zelda stream, hopefully, is starting this month. Hopefully.
We'll see.
I think.
Plan.
I think that's the last I heard, but things
Yeah,
move fast.
that's the last I heard too. So, and I'm part of it. That's real neat. So check out stuff there. I should have a couple 3MRs coming out on Escapist as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Superman, Jeff, where can folks find you? What do you have coming up?
Oh man, you can find me studying. Besides that,
just watch this man study.
yeah, just study. Maybe I'll just start up a stream and just watch me study. Catch me in the Discord. I'm usually on Super Smash Sunday. I'll do a pop-up stream here and there, but nothing consistently. Trying to get 3 bits and finish up my 6. Yeah.
Nice. As usual, you guys can find me at SigmaGears9 on Twitch and Twitter and Threads for as long as that's a thing that's existing. You can check out a new video I edited for the Darren Mooney over on the We Got This Covered YouTube channel. Watch it. Don't worry about the channel so much as the video that's on it.
Should I be concerned about the rest of the channel?
Well, We Got This Covered has a reputation, and we have nothing to do with that reputation. That's all I really want to say about that. But outside of that, yeah, catch the rest of streams that I'm doing. The Half-Life streams with Marty, the game streams with Jesse.
Adventures Night Season 3?
Yeah, Adventures Night Season
month?
3 drops for members next weekend.
I think so, yeah. The
Yeah.
23rd?
22nd, I think.
Oh, okay.
So, man, I'm excited to see that because I have not seen it yet.
Me too.
Like it's just not on Blue Sky yet, Casey. No one has invited me. Shocking.
I know. I want that invite.
But like Jeff mentioned, Super Smash Sunday later today, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on the Open Party channel. We'll be doing that. And like I mentioned earlier, like at some point I'm going to be announcing some extra streams. One for raising funds for my eventual wedding, and a second one to play Street Fighter because Street Fighter 6 is the shit.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for announcements in regards to those things. But thank you so much, my 3 guests. Been fun as usual. Thanks everybody in chat for engaging with us. We will see you all next week. This has been episode 109. Peace.
Peace.
Bye.
Have a good one, squad.